Want to pass it over to Tia to introduce Roxana to everybody. And we're live.
Hi, everyone. We're here today with my very good friend, Roxana Soetebeer, and feel honored and privileged to introduce her. Has an incredible story, and not only that, she's helping so many people already with her experience and her knowledge. She's a metabolic health professional, accredited by the Society of Metabolic Health Professionals, a Primal health coach, a nutrition network coach practitioner. She's a has done a Red Cross rescuer. I can't even say it. Rescuer
Red
award.
Cross Rescue Award.
Thank you so much for saving me. And a certified meta community manager. But not only that, she has an awesome Facebook group called Reversing Insulin Resistance with over almost 8,000 members in it. Also,
18,000.
she coaches in Dr. Barry's PhD community. Um, so many things, but her story is just incredible. And thank you, Roxana, for sharing with us today. This is really going to be a great talk. Could you discuss, though, could you start out discussing, maybe tell our listeners how it all started, maybe back in your 20s with your diagnosis of misdiagnosis, I should say, of RA, and how you kind of took your health back into your own hands?
Yeah. So until I was about 24, 25 years old, I was always healthy. When I went to the doctor and I had to fill out the form, I could leave everything unchecked. And then that all of a sudden changed. So overnight almost, I developed my knees started swelling, then my hands, then I was hardly mobile. I could hardly move. And they diagnosed me with rheumatoid arthritis. It turns out now that was a misdiagnosis, but it would have been probably treated similarly. They wanted to put me on methotrexate, which is, they'd said if you take that, you can't have children. And then I said, well, at that time I was 27, just got married. I said, I want children. And so they said, well, the only other option is cortisone. So I was put on cortisone. And then I had 3 boys. So I don't regret anything about them because they're awesome kids. But my health really declined from then on. I think maybe looking back, it all started with a proton pump inhibitor. You get that for acid reflux. So after my first son was born, I had it so severely that I thought my throat would close up. It was just that inflamed. And that just started a cascade of things that I couldn't digest meat anymore correctly. I got nutrient deficient. Then I developed Hashimoto. Then I developed type 2 diabetes and NASH. NASH is it's inflamed fatty liver. So it's a step up from just non-alcoholic fatty liver. Then NASH, and the next step would be cirrhosis. So I was doing very poorly. And then a week straight, I had sugar levels in the high 400s. And you can
Gosh.
imagine like how dazed I
Yeah.
felt. My middle son is type 1 diabetic. So I woke him up in the middle of the night and said, hey, Chris, I need some of your insulin. I was already on insulin, but long acting, 50 units. So he gave me a vial and a syringe, and then I calculated in my weary head how many units I would need to bring my sugar down, and I injected it. And then I thought, all right, so maybe this was a little too much. I don't know. You can easily
Very.
overdose insulin. And
Yeah.
so I called a friend in Germany, and that was for me in the middle of the night. For him, it was on his morning commute. So he said, no, I think you did everything right, but don't go to sleep. Check every half hour and watch Stephen Finney. Look up Stephen Finney on YouTube. So I did. And up to that point, I was pretty hopeless because no matter what diet I tried, I just kept regaining everything and then some. So at the top, I was like over 300 pounds. And but he's told he talked about keto and how it works and why it works and what the science behind it. And that made sense. So I had this spark of hope. And then the next day I started keto. I had made up my mind.
Yeah. And you were probably just in constant pain and fatigued all the time. I can't even imagine.
Oh yeah, I was so tired. And nothing was fun. Like going out, going to the sink. Like I was on heavy pain medications too. I was on OxyContin. That's it's it is synthetic heroin. So it's a very addictive painkiller. I would go to the sink to grab a glass of water and I would be drenched in sweat. So that's how I felt. I couldn't do anything. The only thing I did was actually take my kids to Taekwondo.
Oh,
And
you didn't even
I
want to
had to
leave
bring
the
my
house. You probably didn't. Yeah. You,
no anything with the children. And also when they were little. I mean, I taught them not to run away from me and they didn't. But I really depended on that because I could never chase them.
so, so what did you try? I mean, how many, you tried so many times to lose weight and failed. What did you try, Roxana?
Well, I think the first time I dieted was when I was 14. I was like 5 or 10 pounds overweight, and my father mentioned it. And so I tried Slim Fast. And obviously, you can only do that for so long. And then I tried Weight Watcher, I tried calorie restriction, I tried eating either carbs or fat. Like I tried I tried basically everything. I tried calorie counting, I counted points, but it never occurred to me to count carbs. And now I know that when you restrict calories, you will eventually be hungry and feel miserable, and it just doesn't work.
I was
Like
wondering what
like hmm?
I was wondering what was the difference between like all those things you tried in the past and low carb? Like what was it about low carb that, you know, got you going and feeling good and kind of made you stick with it when none of the other things in the past did?
So with low carb, I was satiated. There's one thing when you diet, and basically you're always dieting because you're always eating a certain diet, whether it's human, a human diet or whatever. But when I restricted calories and ate less and then tried to move more, but I was so sick I couldn't really move much. But eating less is like one sure thing to get up your hunger or your appetite. And it only works for so long. So I would do that for like 2, 3 months. I lost 20 pounds. And then a well-meaning friend said, "Oh, you can't like restrict everything. You gotta have a cookie like every now and then, or like a treat." And now with me, and my situation is that I'm a sugar addict. So it really made sense. I was hungry, I was miserable, and I really deserved that treat for the first 20 pounds. So I got actually, it was a carrot cake with a certain type of frosting. It was like so good. And I got that, and then I was off the wagon. And not just for like a day or two or a week or a month, but I was off the wagon for years. I could not muster up the motivation to go back until to the point where I was hurting so much again that I would try again. And then I would fail again, and then I would try again. And like in the end, I thought like it's no use. Like there's no hope. And that's what I got that night when I watched Dr. Stephen Finney. What he told me gave me the hope I needed to try one more time.
What do you struggle with now?
So I'm gonna like precede that by saying I got off insulin and my A1C is from 8.5 to 5.2. Like on average, it's between 5.0 and 5.4. My blood sugars are healthy. NASH, the liver thing, is reversed. I still struggle with inflammatory arthritis. So what they misdiagnosed me with was rheumatoid arthritis. And it was a little sad because the rheumatologist should really have picked up on it, because with rheumatoid arthritis, the first thing that changes is like your hands. And my hands are just normal. And I'd switched to a different rheumatologist because mine dropped me. because I stopped taking her medication. She said I was non-compliant. So I got a new rheumatologist, and he said, and he's close to retirement, if you have RA, you would be the first patient who wouldn't have deformed hands, like after 30 years. And so he said it's some type of inflammatory arthritis. He doesn't know which one. I still have flares. My wrists swell. Sometimes in the morning when I try to make a fist, I can only get this far, like when I'm in the middle of a flare. Right now, I'm kind of like in between flares, I would say. So that's something I struggle with. I have not been able to knock those flares down. So every 4 or 6 weeks, or every 4 or 8 weeks, I need cortisone, which is not good for my blood sugar, but A1C is still behaving, but still, that's not good.
I'll try not to get you to backtrack too much, but I wanted to kind of go back and once you started, you came across Dr. Finney and got that information and it resonated with you and you started. Can you kind of walk us through like what went on after that moment? Like kind of tell us all the good and the bad of that low carb transformation. And also how long ago was that? When did you start your journey?
I started just before COVID, so that was October 2019.
Okay.
Just when it started. So that was maybe lucky for me because everyone had to stay home, and I could really concentrate on my nutrition. In the beginning, the only thing I knew about keto was under 20 grams of carbs, no sugar, no grains, no high sugar fruit, no high sugar vegetables like corn, potatoes. All those were out. And I didn't eat any fruit. So I didn't want to mess with my carbs. But I quickly found out there is this low carb treat, and this can be bought at Costco. And so in the beginning, my diet was not perfect, but it was keto. So I got into ketosis and I dropped the weight. I did know about the keto flu. So my remedy was to drink Gatorade Zero. I know, like it's terrible stuff, and I would not touch it now. But at the beginning, I drank it like my life depended on it, and I never had the keto flu. So that was kind of cool.
They were, and what were I know you mentioned some of your health improvements, but what did that timeline look like? So you started in October
Mhm.
and you get through the keto flu and now you're kind of in ketosis and you're rolling, you're feeling better. Like what were the improvements as you went and kind of like walk us through that to kind of where you're at now?
So right when I started, within a day or two, like my brain fog was just like gone, like a flip is switched. It was gone, and I felt so much better, so energized. It's hard to describe, because if you feel poorly for so long, that's your normal. And my normal was down here, and this should be normal. And I didn't remember this. So once I got closer, I thought, oh, wow, okay, this is good. So I'm going to continue doing that. Then my blood sugar levels dropped, and I got off insulin, or almost off insulin, quickly, like within maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks. And then they started creeping up again. And then within a few weeks, I was back to 50 units. That was kind of disappointing, but I thought, well, you can't have everything. And like type 2 diabetes is chronic progressive. It's not, but I believe that. So I thought, okay, no, I'm gonna stay on insulin until I learned that staying on insulin actually means that the insulin levels are still high. And that's not good. Like that can cause complications. And I thought like, oh, like what can I do? And that's when I found Dr. Fang. So about 7 months into my diet, I saw his video, The Etiology of Obesity. It's a 6-part series, brilliant, every hour worth, like the minutes in gold. I don't know, that's not the weight, but the time in gold. And it was so easy. I just had to skip breakfast and not snack. So that was it. I just skipped breakfast and didn't snack. And within 2 weeks, I was off insulin completely.
Oh, wow.
And I've been off since. And
That's amazing.
so you can imagine, like, I'm incredibly frustrated about the information that's being put out there that supposedly type 2 diabetes is chronic progressive. It's not. It's only if you follow the ADA advice.
Yeah, it makes me very angry at times too because of my situation. So thank you for being a leader
Yeah, and it's so
for
like when I
awareness.
go,
Yeah.
hmm?
Thank you being a leader for awareness of that you can do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when I go into these diabetes groups and they say cake is life and these things, I think they're completely misjudging what life is about. It's not about eating cake and having that in your mouth like for just a few moments. And then it's about enjoying life, about being healthy. So they're completely missing the point. And my motivation is being able to move, being able to travel, being able to go to conferences like where we went to. And that's my life completely changed. I was like sad at home, eating a sad diet, standard American diet. And now I have a freezer full of beef and I eat good food. I'm not hungry. I don't obsess about when am I going to eat next and like watching the clock. And so it's a completely different life.
Yeah, it sounds
It's
like you
totally
really
changed your
took.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, what are some of the so you was able to get off insulin um in a really short amount of time. What other, if you don't mind sharing, you can share with whatever you want on because it's kind of personal. I always like to ask like what other health improvements did you get after you started?
So NASH was reversed, and I was diagnosed with NASH with a biopsy. So like there was no second guessing that diagnosis. That was a firm diagnosis. They did
Hmm.
the biopsy, hopefully to find a cause. But of course they didn't because it was just the um I can't say that word now, but that diet that I
Yeah.
was eating. It was the carbs, it was the sugar that caused it. And it was, of course, the medication that they put me on for rheumatoid arthritis. Because it's one thing being on that medication, but when they forget to dial down the initial high dose, and I take that initial high dose for 15 years, yeah. Okay, so that happened. I also have, I didn't talk about that earlier, I have Hashimoto. And, oh, actually, I think I mentioned it. So I'm on thyroid medications for that. And that kind of upset me too, until Dr. Berry said, it's not medication, it's hormone replacement. Your thyroid doesn't make it, so you're replacing it. It's not like I'm taking painkillers or so. I'm kind of still hopeful that that will reverse also, but it hasn't done it for me so far. And at some point, my thyroid levels actually got so low that the T4 was critically low. No, well, it was just above critically low. And I was really tired at the time. And there was a whole other can of worms because I had a huge discussion with my doctor that I needed to increase the dose. And then I just did. And I'm not recommending that anyone do that, but the dose I was taking was just not good.
Yeah, you mentioned sounds like Dr. Berry kind of played a pivotal role in your journey and kind of
Yeah.
how would you say his guidance on this kind of impacted like your progress with your medical and weight loss?
So I found him fairly early into my journey. And then I watched his lives, and then I went into his private community, and all the advice he gave was solid. And now that I'm also one of the coaches in this community, I get like extra opportunities to talk to people. How did he impact me? Oh yeah. So at one point, I said like, how can I ever repay you? And then he said, well, spread the word. And I'm a sucker for challenges. So I created the Facebook group. I created I haven't done much on YouTube, but I also joined Twitter. And it's a lot of fun talking to people on Twitter. Um, Controversial sometimes. It's not that I like fighting, but well, you know me on Twitter, Brian, so
Yeah, it's fun sometimes.
yeah.
Sometimes.
So some of the memes get people really upset. I posted one meme of different kinds of foods, and they all contain sugar, like bread, pasta, rice, a banana, like 15, and all got a stamp like sugar, 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 sugar. It got people so upset. But
Oh,
that's carbs are sugar, so there's just
we're just
no two
spreading the
opinions
truth.
about it.
Spreading the truth is all. That's why they got
Yeah.
upset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
planting seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I definitely we we all want to dig in kind of into your, post keto and how you helped everybody, but I do want to kind of go back a little bit as you know, transitioning from you said you had tried all these other diets and you was dealing with all these other medical issues, and it can be transitioning to a low carb lifestyle that can be really challenging for a lot of people. And I was wondering, kind of when you was getting started, what were some of the biggest hurdles you faced, and kind of how did you get over them?
I have to say that my start was really easy. Like I know that some people do struggle, and I know why they struggle. I think one thing is being addicted to the junk food, to the ultra processed food, or to sugar. So what I did in the beginning is just replaced it. I had this one recipe that was a chocolate cake in a mug with a huge helping of whipped cream, and I had that every day. That was like my dinner, and I had that every day. I was looking forward to that. So I made homemade sour gummies. They're kind of not as gummy like gummy bears, but they are kind of like finger jello, and they were sour, so they tasted good. I found replacements for, well, I tried radishes instead of potatoes, then rice cauliflower instead of rice. So I made it work for me. My diet seemingly didn't change much because I found all these replacements. I'm not doing that anymore, but I think especially with sweets, if you find a keto treat that you like in the beginning, then that's kind of like a crutch. It's helping you getting over the sugar addiction. And once you're over the sugar addiction, actually you're never really over it, but once you're not no further obsessing about it, then uh yeah, you're not no longer obsessing about it, kind of like that went a little bit in a circle, I guess. So yeah, I gotta say, my start wasn't that bad, and I quickly dropped the weight. I quickly felt better, and I quickly made friends on Facebook, and then the group, of course.
I got to tell you, I love your Facebook group and the challenges that you make on there. And you had a BPE challenge. We had fun doing that and showing our different ways of doing that. If people don't know what that is, it's beef, butter, bacon, and egg challenge. And right now, I think you're doing the lion diet. Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about that
So
and
I
why you
watched.
started. Yeah.
I really want to knock down these inflammatory flares,
Mhm.
inflammatory arthritis. It's so mm, it really sucks all the joy out of your day if you are off, like you went through a week of cortisone, And it's a stress hormone, so you don't feel really, really well about it. But then you're completely pain-free. You don't have any problems moving your hands. And then for a week about, I'm good. And then I start feeling the next inflammation or the next flare coming on. And it just starts with a little bit of like you can feel it in the joint. It's almost like there's too much fluid in the joint. You can feel it in the knees, sometimes in my back, lower back, sometimes in my feet. It's always a little different. But then the flare starts, it gets a little better, it gets a little bit worse, and then it gets worse, worse, worse until I have to take cortisone again. And I can't keep doing that. I can't keep doing a week of cortisone every 4 to 8 weeks. It's not good for my adrenals, I guess. And so I'm trying to just knock those flares down. And the one thing I can do is actually do a line diet. So line diet is only beef, water, and salt. It's no coffee, it's no butter, it's no any of the seasonings like pepper, any of those. It's just beef, salt, and water. And that's what I do right now. So today I had beef ribs. It's really good. They're so good.
Yeah.
And I'll be eating those probably the next 2 or 3 days. Then I do beef patties, hamburger, bone broth. I made my own beef tallow first time. Almost burned it. And yeah, so the plan is to do that to the next flare, and then hopefully maybe one more course of cortisone, and then it'll be done. Or as an add-on, maybe fast for 2, 3, 4, or 5 days and see if that can knock down the flare. So that's my aim, knocking down that flare. Now the arthritis, hopefully it will make the Hashimoto better too, but I have to see about that.
You mentioned fasting. Tell us a little bit about that. What does your fasting look like when you first started out versus like now?
So first, when I started out, I did 16-8. It means that I have an eating window of 8 hours and 16 hours where I don't eat. And many people say, "Oh no, I cannot never not eat 16 hours." But I sleep most of the time. So no, I don't sleep most of the time, but most of that 16 hours
Yeah.
I sleep.
Yeah.
So it's really just skipping breakfast and then not snacking. And then I tightened that up to 18-6, where I would have an eating window of 6 hours, and I would just have a meal at 1 p.m. and a meal at 7 p.m. and that's it. And it's incredibly powerful because every time, even on carnivore, when I skip the fasting, my blood sugars go up. Like within a week or so, then they creep up. But with the fasting, that keeps my blood sugars in check. Now, when I fast longer, like for a while, I tried alternate day fasting. And it was interesting because with the 18-6, I kind of lost interest in food. That was something completely weird for me because I would always want to eat food. And all of a sudden I thought, oh, whether I eat or not, I don't care. Almost, it was a weird feeling. And then I started alternate day fasting. So I would have an 48 like 40 hours I would not eat, and then I have an 8-hour eating window. And I really looked forward to eating food again. And the thing I didn't know was that I had to mind my electrolytes. And then after a week, I almost passed out.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah. Well, I felt it coming on, so I sat down, and then I knew that like sitting down was enough, so I lay down, and then I called my husband and said like, "Don't worry, I'm on the floor, but I didn't fall. I'm just like feeling dizzy." And my blood pressure actually was really, really low. So now I know I have to mind my electrolytes. And now on the Lion diet too, I thought on the Lion diet I needed a fewer electrolytes. No, I need a lot of salt, a lot of salt.
Now, while you're on the lion diet, you're just taking the raw salt, correct? No flavored.
Well,
Or
Well, I have the Redmond's real salt,
yeah.
and then I have electrolytes by Keto Chow.
Mm.
Like it's big
Oh,
bottle and
yeah,
just squeeze it
the
into the
drops.
water. And then I have Element Raw. So I'm not using electrolytes that are flavored at the moment because you can do any diet, but it can't be the diet, the Lion diet, if you use any kind of sweetener or flavor.
I'm glad you mentioned the fasting because we do have a fasting group going on right now in our community. So, what kind of training wheels might you have used to get you from one meal to the next?
So interestingly, once you are fat adapted, and that takes a little bit, probably 6. It's different for everyone, but once you're fat adapted, the metabolism, like when you don't eat, it just switches like that. It goes from burning the food you eat to burning the body fat. And so you're not hungry in between meals. It's you're just not hungry. It's just at a certain time I just feel, mm, I think I should eat. But it's not like, oh, I have to eat now because I'm like my stomach is tearing me apart. I'm so hungry. No, it's not like that. Occasionally I do feel hungry, but it's like it's rare. It's more like I think about something and then like old I don't know. My brain just messing with me.
How about any advice for people just starting out? What
So
advice would you give someone?
if I were to start over, or when I look back, I'm kind of glad that I started out a little ignorant and not knowing everything. Like when you know everything, oh, you can't eat seed oils, you can't eat this, blah, 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 and everything I don't eat now. I think that might be overwhelming. So when anyone starts out, I would just do this under 20 grams of carbs. And I mean net carbs. Don't even worry about total carbs. Um, no sugar, no grains, no starchy vegetables. And I would probably leave out all food just for the start to make it easier. And then basically, and kind of hurts, like whatever fits your macros. But as long as you leave out those, it's fine. Along the way, you should get rid of processed food. You should get rid of seed oils and don't buy like Hungry Man, even if it's low carb, kind of like that.
Uh,
Yeah, processed food addiction is real.
Oh, yes, it is. Like
Yeah.
people fight me about on that on Twitter and say like, how can you say that sugar is addictive? Because it's not like you're an heroin addict or yeah, but like there's a spectrum of addiction. You don't have to be lying in the dirt to be an addict.
Yeah.
And if I eat candy and break a tooth and then still cannot stop eating that type of candy and break another tooth, that's addiction. Like
You keep breaking your teeth.
if you are not in control, like that's if you
Mhm.
can moderate something, then you're not an addict. If you can say, I eat one and I had enough, then you're not an addict. If you eat one and you can't stop, then you're an addict. It's a loss of control.
yeah, I totally agree. And you had an amazing journey, reversed a lot of health conditions, lost a bunch of weight. And I did want to get into kind of what people ask me this all the time. So I definitely love asking other people this, but it's going to be kind of I'm going to come back and revisit. I'm going to ask you this first. I know you go to a lot of conferences and you had mentioned like doing a lot of courses, in this metabolic health space and low carb keto. I wonder how have all these experiences, all of these things, all these people you've met and came across, how they've influenced your approach and, wanting to help others.
So I think whenever anyone experiences something that impactful, like that, almost like a miracle, where you thought all hope was lost and then you get your life back. People tend to want to share that. And I'm, I, you basically can't shut me up. It's the problem. So it's a lot of fun going to these conferences and meeting people like Bob or Tia or you or Vic. That's just the best feeling. It recharges my batteries. At home,
Me too.
um,
Yeah.
no one's eating keto here, so I'm the only one, and I see them eating like chips and then the sweetened tea, the powder, and I just
Mhm.
it drives me crazy. But yeah, no, going to the conferences, I learn a lot, and like the odd little details I just remember.
You know,
And then helping others is kind of like, I mean, you know that, right? You help others, it's like a very intense feeling. How to describe?
yeah, and I know my next question, it's pretty similar, but like you said, like you have this experience, then you go to these conferences and you gain this knowledge, and then you just can't help but to help people. But kind of what what inspired you to like become an advocate in this space and you like start the groups and work with all these people? I know you kind of just answered it, but at the same time, like what went off in you that said, I'm going to make these groups, I'm going to work with these people, and I'm going to get out here and spread the word like you are right now?
Yeah, that was Dr. Berry.
Was it?
When I asked him, how do I repay you? Spread the word. And I really, he said it and I did it. Like a freight train. Um, it was the group grew so quickly, and I was on there like a lot of time. Like my job allows me to like intermittently check the internet. And so people would ask me like, what do I do? And then my inbox was full all the time. So I had to dial back on that. But in the group, everything's free. And on Twitter, or if someone asks me in the community, I don't mind sharing. I don't mind taking the time to do that. Um, it's my, yeah, you could say it is my passion. I it's just fulfilling and almost like a calling. I don't know. I Now in hindsight, I wished I'd become a doctor. I could do even more, but this is the next best thing.
And you've definitely created, a couple communities, and I would say I think I've talked to Dr. True, Amy, and others about this. I know when I started, um, there really wasn't a community or support out there. I hate saying that I'm old, but there really wasn't much out there when I started. So I want to know, like, in your opinion, what role does the community support play in people achieving like long-term success, doing low carb?
It probably depends on the person, but I believe as humans, we need our tribe. We need peers. We need validation too.
Mhm.
So if you find your tribe, um, it's one of the pillars of health anyway. You have nutrition, exercise, sleep, and then you have relationships. So you need to find people who are like-minded. And at those conferences, everyone is. You should just, I mean, you know it. Also, um, it's so exciting to be there because everyone is on the same mission. And so yeah, you need to find your tribe. You need to find community. I found that in Facebook groups. There was one keto for ladies over 50, and then none of the groups really reflected what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a little more scientific, so that's why I created my own group. And then I found the Dr. Berry group too, which now moved off Facebook.
And that's awesome. And you touched on it perfectly. I know finding your tribe is very important, and there's probably thousands of people that's benefiting from just being in that tribe and helping out one another. But now I want to kind of ask you, like individually, like you creating this group and you kind of leading that community and being part of it, how has that benefited you personally? Kind of how has that helped your personal journey?
Hmm. I I think I didn't have a direction I wanted to go in. My job is okay. Like it's fun at times. Sometimes it's stressful. It's mostly IT and projects. So I don't have to worry much about it, but it wasn't fulfilling. And now having that group, even though the group doesn't pay anything and it's just costing time, but reading people's comments and like one group member, for example, he took a photo of himself with 3 bags of coal. And then he said, "You helped me lose that." And I just thought, okay, well, it's wow. So, yeah, I
For
think I
those,
kind of forgot your question.
Oh no, you
yeah,
you hit it. You hit it.
yeah. For those of you that don't know, there's probably listeners that don't know your incredible weight loss. How much have you lost?
I lost 120 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I wish we had the picture to show of you standing by your pants because that's just an incredible photo. Dr. Laura asked in the chat, have you worked with others who have improved or reversed their autoimmune conditions with low carb?
I've only heard others, like I know people who told me like this is what I did and it improved my condition. Like Michaela Peterson, for example, she had severe arthritis. She had like I think 2 joint replacements by the age of 20. And she is now eating a line diet, and it reversed everything for her. She has a TED Talk about it. A TED Talk that interestingly was never aired, but she has it on her YouTube channel. Um, so I know people who were successful, and I have made strides. I mean, I've got to say, like for 1 year, I had no flares. And I think I just overdid it with exercise in that year. Because once you feel better, you want to start moving. And Taekwondo,
Yeah.
I did that when I was young. So I just, yeah, that might have been a little bit stupid. I just overdid it. And that might have kicked in the flares again. So yeah, I'm trying to actually find the picture here.
Oh, yeah, I hope you find one. Someone else asked in the community, does Roxana use her knowledge to help her son with type 1 diabetes?
I wish.
Yeah.
Um, well, until recently, he was a teenager, and his doctors told him, and they told us too, if he doesn't eat carbs, his brain won't develop properly and he won't grow as like it. And I mean, those are lies, and I know that now, but we didn't know then. And so he really thinks he needs carbs because he uses insulin. And I can't get it out of his head. Now he's kind of slowly coming around. Um, Maybe another year or so, and then we will
Yeah.
be in my boat. But it would certainly help because Gary Taubes did a great talk about type 1 diabetes. And he said the only reason why type 1 diabetics have hypoglycemia is overdosing insulin. And I thought like, oh, wait a minute. He could not be overdosing, but exercising too much. And then he said, well, yeah, but he had too much insulin because of that exercise. And then I said, oh, okay, yeah, insulin is the cause of hypoglycemia. So if you can lower insulin as a type 1 diabetic, you will have less hypoglycemic events.
You made me think of a question because you had mentioned exercise and you had at some point, you said you felt good and you started it. This is a I keep getting you at these two-part questions, but I want to know like how when you started physical activity, how did that complement your low carb lifestyle? But what I really want to know is for other people out there that hasn't, that's maybe in the same boat. They just haven't exercised forever and not felt like it. And now they're at that point where they want to start. What advice would you have for somebody just kind of getting back into exercise?
So what I did was, because I knew I hadn't exercised in so long and I was going to hurt myself like bad. So I went to a physiotherapist and I had him tell me like what exercises are safe, and I want to get back to Taekwondo. That was the goal. So I saw him like 6 or 7 times, and I started just training with resistance bands, easy things. And as I got stronger, then I was able to join Taekwondo. So I think, especially if you're not used to exercise, you might want to see a physiotherapist or a personal trainer. But just beware, most personal trainers will tell you that you will need carbs for exercise, and that's not good advice.
Yeah, I think Vic, I think we talked about this a long time ago. I've always said if you're getting into exercise and you're going to go visit a personal trainer, don't let them just hand you a sheet of paper with exercises on it. Make sure they evaluate you, kind of see if you have any deviations or weaknesses, because you need to, if you do have any imbalances or weaknesses, you need to improve those before you even start an exercise program. Because like Roxana
Yeah.
said, you're going to hurt yourself. So a good personal trainer, a physiotherapist will kind of run some tests on you and let you know what you need to improve before you even start exercise. That's
Yeah,
some
he
stuff.
also explained that the muscles and the tendons that hold everything together, the muscles might even grow faster. And then you have the problem that you can do more than your joints can actually hold. So it's got to be. I will never discourage anyone from doing exercise, but you got to do it like in a smart way.
Exactly.
And Tia, I found the
Yeah.
picture.
Oh,
That's
great.
the
Oh, I hope everybody can see that. It's
I can,
incredible.
for the
Yeah.
first time, I'm actually
those were
able to
my
see
old
a
pants.
screen.
I
Yeah.
actually fit into one leg now, but it
Oh,
looks kind of very, very, very odd. So I didn't take a picture of that.
yeah. Just for anybody that wants to meet Roxana, if you're at San Diego, Low Carb USA coming up, and Low Carb for Better Health in Tennessee in August. Any other places anyone could meet up with you? I know you go to a lot of conferences.
I think
Those are
those
the
two,
next two. Yeah.
possibly Louisville,
Yeah,
but
possibly Ketapalooza.
yeah,
All works out right. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, low carb for better health. That's going to be awesome. And I'll be talking there. We are talking about there
Yeah. Yeah.
about food addiction, and it's a talk I also held, like a similar talk I held for Nutrition Network, and it's from the perspective of a food addict.
It's really good. Yeah. Don't want to miss if you can tune in. Anything else you want us to know? We're getting close to the top of the hour. Anything else you want us to know about you?
Well, not so much about me, but anyone who like I can say if I can do it, everyone can do it. And it's kind of cliche, but it really is true though, because once you experience the satiety on keto, once you experience feeling better, it's something you don't ever want to let go of. It's my mantra. It's nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. It's Oh, one
Oh,
tip maybe. Um, Instead of making 1,000 choices in a day, saying like, okay, look at this. Can I eat this? Can I eat that? No, I can't eat this. I have to eat this, blah, 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 blah. Just make one decision. I'm going to eat healthy. And then when you look at something, you intuitively know this is not healthy. And then you don't eat it. You make one decision. I'm going to eat healthy.
That's good. That's the good stuff.
I had, I had one last I have one last question. I don't know if Tia or anybody
Go
out there
ahead.
had any, but you mentioned so many amazing things you've done on your journey and all these great experiences, but I always like to know when you look back at your journey to this point, what are you most proud of?
I think the moment that filled me with the most pride was when my son, and he was 18 at the time. Actually, I showed them my before pictures, and they said, like, why don't you do keto? Like, I lost so much weight. And they said, no, mom, you didn't lose weight. And then I showed them the before picture, and they said, oh, wow, I didn't even notice you were ever that big. So he said at one point, because of everything I do, he said, Mom, you know what? I'm really proud of you. And that,
Oh,
I think that was the best moment
yeah.
in my journey. It
That's
almost
awesome.
makes me tear
You're
up.
gonna make me cry now.
Yeah.
I got all the feels happening.
And he's 18, so it's not just a kid talking. That really that made my there are many moments that made my day, but that made
I made it all worth it.
Right.
yeah.
All your hard work.
That's awesome. But I want to thank you for coming tonight. I was just looking through the chat to make sure there was nothing I missed. Tia, do you have any last questions or did I miss anything in the
I think we I think we got it.
okay.
I think we got it. Hopefully someone asked what the name of your Facebook uh group was. Reversing insulin resistance, right?
Yeah, it's reversing insulin resistance. And if you want to find me on social media, you just Google my name. It's a luckily a very unique name, Roxana Soetebeer. Just and then you'll find me on Twitter and on Facebook.
Well, thank you so much. Look forward to meeting up with you soon.
Awesome.
All right, thank you,
Yeah.
Roxana.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for joining.
All right, guys, we'll see everybody next week.
Okay.
Bye.